Russell. Thank you, Chair. Just picking up actually on the road users and Vision Zero and safety, is there anything that has happened during the pandemic that has actually increased risks to road users, particularly to people walking, cycling, and also to motorcyclists who are also particularly vulnerable sort of during the COVID period? I believe there's been quite a lot of problems with extreme speeding, for instance. I just wonder if that has fed through into collisions.
And that's not unique to London. There has been a noticeable increase in, not in general, but in extreme cases of speeding where people have been using excessive speed in what they perceive to be, lighter used roads, so suddenly maybe it becomes attractive as some kind of raceway. We've been working with the Metropolitan Police, the road traffic unit. In fact, I myself went out and spent an evening with them in one of their units. We sat on the Westway and we were looking for people who were excessively speeding, and it was quite a busy night actually. So that's certainly been a factor in one of the challenges for maintaining and improving upon our KSIs, that regrettably people have been caught doing excessive speed.
And just also picking up on one other thing about Vision Zero, which is the numbers of people who are killed while walking. I think there were 68 people killed last year on London's roads, which was an increase of 19%. So just it would be reassuring to know that people walking, so pedestrian safety, is something that's high up on your agenda.
It is, and that's one of the reasons why, where it's warranted, we've increased pavement space, because a lot of London streets are pretty narrow, and so if you've only got finite space, in some cases it makes sense to provide more provision for pedestrians and cyclists. And I get that comes at the expense, to a certain extent, of other road users, but it's about getting the balance right. Absolutely, it's a responsibility of ours. Where we own the infrastructure, we should be designing safe streets.
Thank you. And just one final thing just on the Vision Zero before I move on to the questions I'm meant to be asking. The Road Peace, which is one of the charities that looks after the interests of road traffic victims, prefers that the word accident isn't used and that crash or collision is used instead. I'll send you, they've got a brilliant blog which explains why, but I just thought it's something that people who campaign on behalf of families who've been bereaved in crashes are very particular about that language. So I'll send it through to you.
Just one point I didn't make, of course, is and you'll be aware of this, we've been actively working with boroughs on low traffic networks and the imposition of 20-mile-an-hour speed limits where that makes sense. So I think there's a whole suite of interventions here that show that, albeit we've still got work to do, that we're not passive to this issue and that we're actively and aggressively taking action to drive down crashes.
Brilliant. Quick on the uptake. So then moving on to look at, this has been slightly covered already, but so you may just want to answer these quite speedily, but what are there any further actions that you're going to be taking in terms of improving bus and tram safety? For instance, I know we're due information this autumn about an update on toilet provision for bus drivers, which is one of the issues that was contributing to fatigue.
So yes, we've been working our way around to make sure that there are not only bathroom provision on every route, but also that they are kept clean and COVID secure. I talked earlier about some of the changes we've made on the buses to make them safer, to provide safer operation. We're also actively, as the Chair mentioned earlier, working our way through the Sandilands recommendations. I went down to Sandilands Curve myself in my first, I'm going to say 3 weeks, to have a look at the site for myself and to look at some of the onboard safety features that we've changed, including lighting and signage and some of the other physical changes we've made to reduce speed and to also to enforce operator fatigue management.
And then the committee did quite a lot of work on bus safety and bus driver fatigue. Are you going, and there was some very pioneering research that came from, I think, was it Loughborough University? Are you looking to expand that work on bus driver fatigue through into the tram safety processes?
And I think that where you know there is good practice, that should navigate across to other modes. So there shouldn't be any differentiation in your safety approach. If something makes sense on one mode, it should be applied to another. And fatigue management's a good example. We are insisting that Tram Operations Limited plus the bus operators actively manage bus operator fatigue via proven systems.
I mean, every bus driver will be glad to hear that you're, that you're aware of all that work and taking it seriously. And I'm sure we'll follow up over time to check that everything's been done. We've covered the welfare facilities, so my final question is about the Sarah Hope line. Now, Assemblymember Pidgeon and I went on a visit to TfL with the committee staff to see the Sarah Hope line, and one of the issues that came up then on that visit was the lack of awareness of the Sarah Hope line, particularly for people who are victims of road traffic collisions, whether they're pedestrians or cyclists. It seemed that the Sarah Hope line was more being promoted to people who had been been involved in an incident that involved trains or tubes or buses. And one of the things that Sarah felt very strongly, because the way her family became involved in this whole area, was it was a crash from a bus affecting pedestrians, but really felt it was important that people who were either walking or cycling when they were involved in a collision, that they should be contacted and reached out to by the Sarah Hope line. And I just wonder if that's something that's crossed your desk yet, and if not, whether it's something that you can look into and check that they are actually reaching out more widely than just to the people actually riding on a bus.
Okay.
Or riding on a
So it's
train.
done more than cross my desk. Not only have I read the report that was done into the effectiveness of the Sarah Hope line and the recommendations that it delivered, I met with Sarah 2 days ago.
Oh, great.
I met her in person at Palestra, and I was honoured to meet her, actually. It's very relevant or appropriate that she talks about kindness. She is one of the most kind, decent, positive people I've ever met in my life. You could imagine that when you suffered that kind of experience, that you would be consumed by bitterness or recrimination. She is such a decent, positive person. So we really, I felt, gelled in terms of commitment, and I said to her that I commit to a refresh of the line, and that we are going to go and visit once we can, once the operatives are taking the calls, we're going to go and visit it together. And I'm very much committed to both the concept and to taking it forward and to implementing the recommendations. I was struck by her humanity.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. That's very reassuring. Thank you, Chair. I'm done.
And thank you very much for doing that. You indicated you were going to, and it's a real pleasure to hear that you did, and that we should be able collectively to take that forward.